Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone from Eastern Canada. It's 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, and around the world at different times, depending on where you're located. We have a worldwide community of Prabhupada disciples that come together 3 times a week, as you saw by the introduction, 3 times a week for readings and discussions from the original, unedited, unadulterated, unchanged books of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is part of our mission at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society, to protect the legacy of Prabhupada in his teachings, because the pursuit of truth is really the quest of all pious living entities, human beings that want to understand the purpose of human life and get out of this cycle of birth and death by the grace of the Supreme Lord and his authorized bona fide representatives. This is the secret of success in spiritual life. And to have that association, as we have through Srila Prabhupada, is the greatest opportunity that is possible for human beings. Yes, opportunity. There's a saying, when opportunity and preparation meet, these 2 factors, when you have an opportunity and you prepare yourself accordingly, then what will happen? Vijaya Pandit in Italy. I'll give the answer, it's okay. Success. Opportunity and preparation. So what is the opportunity? The association of the pure devotee in his Vani incarnation. Just like we have our friend in Michigan, he spends all his day primarily, as we discussed a few weeks back, listening to Prabhupada and his message of truth throughout the day through the use of social media and other means of communication. So in this way, he's always fixed on the transcendental platform of hearing, Shravanam Kirtanam. And through hearing, one gets understanding. That's part of preparation. We do other things, of course, as you know. And when you look at the invitations that we send out to everyone, every class, those are subscribed to our YouTube channel. And we do request that everyone here help us increase the number of people that are subscribing to our channel so that we can increase the propagation of truth to the world. This is very important. for us. But within that invitation, we mention the different rules and regulations that we request people to follow in order to get the ultimate benefit from this association. Yes, benefit. We're not after personal ambition here. Not at all. It's not necessary. In fact, it can be difficult for people that are endeavoring to have to deal with it because it is part of the material situation that we're in. But nonetheless, the preparation process also includes chanting your rounds, 16 rounds every day. So Prabhupada disciples chant 16 rounds minimum in this association. We request that. And we also have the various rules and regulations that Prabhupada wrote out himself. If you get a chance, you can see these rules and regulations written on a piece of paper in his own handwriting, and he posted it in the ashram back in the early 60s. Yes. So these rules and regulations and the chanting of the holy names and the hearing of the philosophy in association with bona fide disciples is the key to success in spiritual life. Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. Guru, Srila Prabhupada, in his Vani incarnation. Shastra, his unedited books. And Sadhu, his disciples that follow these instructions strictly and propagate them to others. Simple logic, everyone, not complicated. Complicated for the difficult, the crooked. Very simple for the servants of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And these principles are the principles that we propagate the truth to others. Yes. And we're not afraid to speak the truth, and we're not compromised by other people and their opinions. People have opinions. I was talking to Vijaya Pandit yesterday. We had a nice conversation for about an hour, and he was telling me about some Prabhus that he's known for many, many years. They have opinion. Oh, and they're telling him, oh, we don't agree with you and your position as a Prabhupada disciple. Okay, that's okay. You have an opinion, but that's all it is. Just like everyone has a body odor. Opinion means nothing. Repeating the truth from the bona fide spiritual master and supporting that principle, that is fact, not opinion. We are not fault finders, we are fact finders. And our goal with this group is to expand this understanding to the whole planet, the entire planet, through our hard work and dedication to this mission to protect the legacy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And that legacy is very nicely explained in his Prabhupada diaries. And these are the diaries. Here's the picture of it. See that? Somehow or other, these Baldi Mardon had these diaries, and he released them to the BBT, and as a result, they were, here we are. They were made available to the public, and we're very fortunate to have got these diaries from Brahmananda Prabhu while he was still alive, and his brother Gargamuni, who is still alive and preaching very nicely in Vrindavan, India, away from the ISKCON camp, by the way. They don't like him to go there because he has an opinion that they don't agree with. The Bowery Summary, April 1st to June 30th, 1966. Now remember, Prabhupada's in the office there, in that office building. It was just broken into, and therefore he's making a plan to go to the Bowery. And we'll go to the summary here. I hope we can get that. Yeah, thank you. Beginning with the first meetings at the Bowery Loft, more people attend the classes. Srila Prabhupada maintains contact with Dr. Mishra and occasionally visits Ananda Ashram on the weekends. Harvey Cohn loans Prabhupada his typewriter, and Paul Murray supplies a tape recorder for the classes. Paul expresses seriousness about becoming a Vaishnava and runs daily errands for Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada attempts unsuccessfully to get free passage for Paul to go to India on the Scindia shipping line. At the end of April, Srila Prabhupada vacates the room on 72nd Street. Around the beginning of May, Carl Jurgens, later to be initiated as Karlapati Das, begins attending the meetings and donates a tape recorder. At the request of some students, Srila Prabhupada begins teaching Sanskrit. On May 9th, 14 men and women attend the class, so that's a big turnout. Srila Prabhupada begins the process of incorporating a society and gives Carl a copy of the Memorandum of Association of the League of Devotees, which he had used years ago in India so he can consult with a lawyer. Srila Prabhupada discusses with Carl the use of the drug LSD and convinces him that it is unnecessary for spiritual realization. Srila Prabhupada receives a letter from Makalinloy Brahmachari in India, who offers to come to America to help in the mission. On May 25th, Srila Prabhupada holds consultations about incorporating the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Some days later, Srila Prabhupada meets with Stephen Goldsmith, a lawyer. This effort continues until July, when the society is registered. At the end of May, Paul's behavior becomes erratic due to intoxication. Srila Prabhupada looks for a new place. In June, the weather becomes very hot and attendance at the classes increases. On July 9th, Srila Prabhupada receives the final letter for Sri Padma Pat Singhania, refusing to help with the purchase of a temple building. On Sunday, June 12th, Srila Prabhupada holds the first feast for the members of this fledgling society and cooks 12 different preparations. 16 people attend. On July 23rd, Mike, later become Mukundadas, asked to become a Vaishnava and tells Srila Prabhupada he will marry his girlfriend. Later on, in September, in Srila Prabhupada's apartment on 26th Second Avenue, Mukunda and Janaki are married in the first wedding ceremony to take place in ISKCON, presided over by Srila Prabhupada. Through this event, it is not mentioned in Srila Prabhupada's journal. So here we go. So we're going to go through the April highlights just briefly. And in this way, we can get an idea. Books. One, Mr. Papa came to see me. He saw the books, took one copy of the first part and paid $6. Went to see Mr. Bogart, his publisher, Mr. Lawton, interested in publishing Srimad Bhagavatam, gave typewriter and typewriter good, tape recorder defective. Today, I'm working on Koan's big royal typewriter and is very good for hard working. Elsie paid $31.50 for books, $15 for books delivered to Elsie, 2 sets of books for sale in charge of Paul. One book due to Elsie was delivered via the studio book sale, $10. And on the 26th, to income of book, $5. Very interesting at these openings to hear this information on Prabhupada's early days. Okay, let's keep going here. Classes and kirtans in the evening meeting experimentally held at Paul's place at 94 Bowery Place. The attendance was 4. Mr. Green paid only $5. Went with Yolanda and Cynthia to Ananda Ashram, passed the night, and held kirtan. Kirtan was appreciated. The 3, Dr. Mishra gave me a tape recorder, which is not working. On the 4th, came to Paul's place. There was a meeting in Kirtan, Harikatha, no income. 5th, the whole day was at Paul's place. In the evening, we held Kirtan together. He is hopeful. 6th, at evening, there was a meeting. There were 7 boys and girls, all attended the meeting carefully. Some brought rice, atta, and fruits. There was no collection. I cooked food and dined with Paul and Sakar. Paul promises to organize. He attend the morning class punctually. On the 8th, the whole day and night, also I stayed at Paul's. Evening, there was a meeting. 7 boys and girls attended. Contribution was $5 and some fruits also. In the evening, the was meeting. 7 gentlemen attended. The collection was $5. On the 13th of April, the evening, 8 ladies and gentlemen attended the meeting. Income $1. On the 15th, a collection in the meeting of $4. On the 16th, Yolanda took me to the ashram and there was a kirtan in the evening. On the 20th, evening meeting at 7 to 9 p.m., only 4 persons attended. The collection was $4. In the evening, 5 gentlemen attended. Contribution $4. That's on the 22nd. An evening meeting held on the 25th. The contribution was $14. On the 26th, 25th, $4.60. Sorry. 27th evening, the meeting was 6 ladies and a gentleman attended. Income was $5. On the 28th, today, I brought all things from 72nd Street to Paul's Loft. So he's going to move in. And 29th, there was a meeting. 5 gentlemen attended and a contribution of $14. On the 30th, today, Paul and him, myself, observed Ekadasi in the afternoon. We both went to Ananda Ashram. Okay, so tomorrow or on Wednesday, we'll read the letters and contents, and we'll move forward into the detailed explanation of the days by Srila Prabhupada in his diaries. So we're getting an idea of how he's evolving through situation, his mission, and improving it and expanding it by the mercy of his Guru and Krishna through all difficulty. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan movement. Now we'll have the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and then the class by his and discussion, reading and discussion with Yashodanandana Prabhu in snowed-in Twain Hearts in the mountains of California. Haribol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Amuspa Paramangsa Paribhrajagacharya Sattara Smadhati Dhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnavindra Ki Jai Ramacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giridhar Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat Tato jayam udirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyāsadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana. As we do every week, we will be reading a few verses from Canto 1, Chapter 2, to discuss the meaning and the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. We'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number, I believe, 16. Text number 17. Srinvatam svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyanta yasto hyabhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashta prayeshu babhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text number 19. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayaschaye chetayete ranaviddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is picked up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text number 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man, affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord, can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. We will be reading a few verses from the Gaudiya Cantar describing the greatness of the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the second section of the Gaudiya Cantar, reading text number 9 and 10. Chariveda Upanishadiyata Kichuhai Tarartalan Vyasakarila Sanchai Ye Sutre Yerik Vishaya Vachan Bhagavate Sirik Shloke Nibhandan Ataeva Brahma Sutrera Bhashya Sri Bhagavata Bhagavata Shloka Upanishad Kare Ekamata. This is from Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 25, text 98 through 100. Chapter 25, text 98 through 100. This may be an adjusted translation. Vyāsadeva collected whatever conclusions were in the 4 Vedas and 100 Upanishads, and composed them in the form of codes as the Vedanta Sutras. In the Vedanta Sutra, the purpose of all Vedic knowledge is explained, and in Srimad Bhagavatam it is elaborated upon in 18,000 verses. What is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Upanishads serve the same purpose. Section 210. Ye sutra karta ye yadi kara ye vyakyan tabe sutrera mularta lokera hayogyan. If the Vedanta Sutras are explained by their author Vyāsadeva, their original meaning can be easily understood by the people in general. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 25, number 93. So we will begin the reading today. Today we'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 4, text number 25. All English synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam Traye Nashruti Gochara Traye Nashruti Gochara Karmashriyasi Mudhanam Karmashriyasi Mudhanam Shriya Eva Babet Iha Shreya eva babet iha iti bharatamakhyanam kripaya munina kritam Stri, the women class, Shudra, the laborer class of men, Dvija Bandhunam, of the friend of the twice-born, Shreya, supreme benefit, Evam, thus, iti, thus thinking, Bhavet, achieve, Iha, by this, iti, thus thinking, Bharata, the great Mahābhārata, Akhyanam, historical facts, Kripaya, out of great mercy, Munina, by the Muni, Kritam is completed. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The great sage, out of compassion for them, thought it wise that this will cause to achieve the ultimate goal of life by them. And thus, he compiled the great historical narration of Mahābhārata for the women class, the laborer class, and the friends of the twice-born. Purport. The friends of the twice-born families are those who are born in the families of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, or the spiritually cultured families, but themselves they're not at par with their forefathers. Such descendants of the cultured families like Brahmin, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are not recognized as such for want of the purificatory achievements. The purificatory activities began even before the birth of a child, and the seed-giving reformatory process is called Garbhadan Samskara. And one who has not had the chance of such Garbhadan Samskara, or the spiritual way of family planning, is not accepted as actual twice-born family. The Garbhadan Samskara is followed by other purificatory processes, out of which the sacred thread ceremony is one which is performed at the time of spiritual initiation. After this particular samskara, one is rightly called the twice-born. One birth is calculated during the seed-giving samskara, and the second birth is calculated at the time of spiritual initiation. After this particular, one who has, next page, been able to undergo such important samskaras can only be called as bona fide twice-born. If the father and the mother do not undertake the process of spiritual family planning and simply beget children out of passion, only such children are called the Dvija Bandhus. These Dvija Bandhus are certainly not as intelligent as the real children of the regular twice-born families. The Dvija Bandhus are classified on the level of Shudras and women class, who are by nature less intelligent. The Shudras and the women class do not require to undergo any samskara, save and except the ceremony of marriage. This less intelligent class of men, namely the women, the Shudras, and the unqualified sons of the higher caste, are devoid of the necessary qualifications for understanding the purpose of the transcendental Vedas. For them, the Mahābhārata was prepared. The purpose of the Mahābhārata is to administer the purpose of the Vedas, and therefore within this Mahābhārata, the summary Veda or Bhagavad Gita is set in. The less intelligent class of men are more interested in stories than in philosophy, and therefore the philosophy of the Vedas, in the form of the Bhagavad Gita, spoken by the Lord Sri Krishna, is set in. Vyāsadeva and Lord Krishna, both of them are on the same transcendental plane, and therefore both of them collaborated on the plan of doing good to the falling souls of this age. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. It is the first book of spiritual values, and same as the Upanishads are. The Vedanta philosophy is the subject matter for study of the spiritual graduates, and only the postgraduate spiritual student can enter into the spiritual or devotional service of the Lord. It is a great science, and a great professor it is the Lord himself in the form Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and persons who are empowered by him can initiate other person in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadorupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarabata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shatakaromishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the another part of Srimad Bhagavatam that will be read later on, there is the story of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama in the Mahābhārata was a very controversial character who killed the sons of the Pandavas. And then he was arrested by Arjuna for his heinous act. As part of the discussion between Draupadi, Arjuna, and Bhima, and the other brothers, the Pandava brothers, and Lord Krishna himself, Ashwatthama was called a Brahmabandhu. Brahmabandhu means a friend of the Brahmanas, that although he was born in a very auspicious situation, because of his heinous behavior and non-Vedic behavior, he was called a Brahmabandhu, a friend of the Brahmanas. And this is what Prabhupada is discussing in this text, of various individuals who are born into circumstances where they're not really qualified to be called Brahmanas. They're really not qualified to have the position of Brahmanas, so they are called Brahmabandhus, or Dvija Bandhu. Dvija means twice born. We are referring to Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and those born in Brahmin families, but do not act like Brahmanas. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning a very important point about the samskara. It is described by Srila Prabhupada, quoting from the Skanda Purana, Janmana jayati shudraha, samskarat bhavet dvijaha. Other times Prabhupada is Kali, Kalo Shudra Sambhavaha, that in this age of Kali, everyone is born a Shudra. And one can become a Brahmana, or first-class person, by the process of samskara, or reformatory purificatory ceremonies. And the first of such purificatory ceremonies is called the Garbhadan Samskara, which is a special ceremony before the birth of the child, where both the mother and father do a certain ritual of purification before conception to have a proper child, auspicious child, to be born in the mode of goodness. Now, this is very important because in this age of Kali Yuga, there are many persons who claim to be Brahmanas, but no one knows if they've actually performed this Garbhadan Samskara, this necessary purificatory ceremony. So this is very important. And here in this text it is described of Vyāsadeva, out of his compassion. The Sanskrit word is kripaya munina kritam. Out of his great mercy, Vyāsadeva, the great sage, out of compassion for them, thought it wise that this will cause to achieve the ultimate goal of life by them. And thus he compiled the great historical narration of Mahābhārata for the women class, the laborer class, and the friends of the twice-born. And here, for a few seconds, we'll address the issue. Some people in the West, they often complain, oh, this seems to be some kind of discrimination against the women class and against lower class. No, it is not. This is just Vedic knowledge in general. Vedic knowledge has certain classification of people according to their birth, but no one is barred from spiritual advancement. Materially, the roles may be different according to people's previous karma, purva karma. Purva in Sanskrit means previous, karma means previous actions. One obtains a certain body in a certain place, in a certain country, in a certain family, with a certain set of senses, according to one's activities in a past life. This is the material situation. But spiritually, everyone is equal. Every living entity is equal as a spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi. The first understanding in spiritual life is to understand that we are spirit soul, and we have acquired this material body due to our past activities. But spiritually, everybody is equal. There's no difference between man, woman, child, black, Mongolian, Polish, German, Canadian, American, Chinese. These are all designations, or in Sanskrit it's called upadi. We see in the Narada Pancharatra, Srila Prabhupada used to often quote this verse, Sarva upadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. That the beginning of devotion to God, devotional service, means one has to become free from all these upadis, sarva upadi, vinirmuktam. It means to become liberated from, to become free from these various material designations. Tat paratvena nirmanam, rishikena rishikesha. One should engage his senses in a service of the master of the senses. Tat bhakti ruchyate, that this is the beginning of devotion. This is one of the definitions which Srila Prabhupada used to often give of the meaning of devotional service. So this is a very important point. In the Mahābhārata, which is basically the history of the world, this is the history of the earth planet, of all the generations before 5,000 years, all the way from the beginning of creation to the battle of Kurukshetra 5,000 years ago. Now there's a class of philosophers and so-called scholars, we'll call them pseudo-scholars, who claim that all of this is just mythology, it's just fictitious, it's not real. Well, I've got news for you, it is real. 3,000 years before the appearance of Jesus Christ, the battle of the Mahābhārata took place in Kurukshetra, India. This has been well documented by numerous historians and astronomers and philosophers, many of whom have analyzed that the exact time of this battle took place at that time. So this is very, very important. Very important. One should not be misled by the false propaganda of modern so-called scholars and so-called experts. One has to hear from those who are authorities in the disciplic succession. Prabhupada, in one letter on November 12th, 1975, November 12th, 1975, wrote, "Please accept my blessings. I'm in due receipt of your letter dated November 2nd, 1975, with enclosed articles, and have noted the article. So those who say that the Mahābhārata battle was fought 3,000 years BC, that is correct. But they had a big meeting with big professors, but was there any conclusion? No. So therefore, these kind of meetings are all useless. Unless there is some conclusion, it is simply a waste of time." So this is very important point. Very important point. In order to reach a proper conclusion about these topics of spiritual life, one has to hear from the authorities. That is why in the Upanishad, it is described that one has to take shelter of the bona fide acharya. Acharyavan Purusho Veda, from the Chandogya Upanishad, that one who has taken shelter of the bona fide authorized acharya, he will understand everything. He will know everything properly. We also see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Acharya upasanam saucham, that the beginning of spiritual life means to accept the authority of the acharya. This is a very important point. Recently, a devotee sent me a little YouTube clip where Prabhupada was discussing the activities of Lord Ramachandra, which occurred many millions of years ago. And Prabhupada says, when you hear the activities of Lord Ramachandra, you are directly associating with Lord Rama. Very important. in 1972, we had the good fortune of being with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan at the Radha Damodar Temple during the Nectar of Devotion lectures. This was a series of lectures that Srila Prabhupada was giving at the end of October, beginning of November 1972. Although it was a little chilly at that time in Vrindavan, it was very blissful. Srila Prabhupada would give the lecture every morning, lead the kirtan. And in one of those lectures, Prabhupada made a very, very important statement. And Prabhupada says, when you're reading the Nectar of Devotion, you are directly associating with Srila Rupa Goswami. Because many times a person will say, well, you can't just read a book, you have to associate with a living, physically present person. But we see that Prabhupada is giving a very important conclusion. That's why Prabhupada presented these books, this transcendental knowledge, this transcendental vani or instruction. Because anyone in any part of the world at any time can directly associate with Srila Prabhupada. Just like when Srila Prabhupada said that one can associate with Rupa Goswami by reading the Nectar of Devotion, which he has very kindly and very scholarly presented. So one has to understand that. And one should not be misled by individuals who claim that Srila Prabhupada did not give a systematic presentation of bhakti. No, he did give a very systematic, very organized presentation of bhakti in the Nectar of Devotion. The Nectar of Devotion is the English translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, compiled by the greatest authority in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya after Lord Chaitanya, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Srila Rupa Goswami had received direct instruction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he was in Banarasi, and he was empowered by Lord Chaitanya to go to Vrindavan to reestablish the places, the sacred places of Krishna's pastimes, and to write books on the science of bhakti. And the foremost of these books is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of the nectar of devotion. And Prabhupada in 1970 in Los Angeles published that book. Very important book, because when this book first came out, I remember I was in Los Angeles at the time, and several devotees, many senior devotees who had direct access to Prabhupada, they went to Srila Prabhupada and asked him, this book, Srila Prabhupada, seems to have some sections which are difficult to understand. And Prabhupada's reply, well, with this situation, you just read it again. They said, well, what if we read it again and still do not understand? Prabhupada said, well, you read it again and again, and eventually you will understand. The point being that if one hears submissively from the Acharya, the knowledge would also be revealed. As part of our discussions here on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, we've often discussed how one senior devotee went to Srila Prabhupada and asked him, of all the things you have taught, what's the most important? And he quoted that verse from the Shvetashvara Upanishad, Yasya deve parabhaktir, yata deve tata guru, tasyete katitayartaha, prakashante mahatmanaha. That for those who have firm faith in the spiritual master and the spiritual Lord, the Supreme Lord, all the imports, all the meanings of the Vedic literature is revealed. The Sanskrit word is prakashante mahatmanaha. This is not a mechanical process. It is not an artificial process. This is a very scientific, systematic process of chanting, of hearing, and gradually of purification that one will gradually understand. Everything will be revealed if one follows the path properly. And this is the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, that he was able to introduce his books and to demonstrate practically how to practice devotional service so that any person in any part of the world, in any situation, man, woman, child, it doesn't matter, black, blue, white, red, Mongolian, Japanese, Chinese, American, Canadian, French, British, it doesn't matter where one is born or what circumstances, anyone who hears the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, will get the ultimate transcendental benefit. Very important point. We just wish that everyone can take shelter and get that great benediction from Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribo, thank you very much, Yashodanandana Prabhu. And this particular section of the Bhagavatam and this purport where Prabhupada is explaining about these verses for our benefit is part of the history of mankind. The Srimad Bhagavatam is very informative for us. And it is noted that, as you quoted in the verse, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, everyone in this Kali Yuga is born a Shudra or even lower than a Shudra. So this includes all classes of men. And specifically, Lord Chaitanya appeared to deliver the most fallen. So this is the mercy that we are all experiencing here in 2024. And we all know our backgrounds. And we all know our fallen conditions because we weren't trained by our parents how to live in Krishna consciousness, like Srila Prabhupada was trained from his early birth. In fact, we had much different experience. But nonetheless, Prabhupada carried out the mission of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya without any hesitation. And he engaged equally men and women in his Sankirtan movement based on this principle that we are all the eternal servants of Krishna, Nityo Nityananam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. And being parts and parcels of the Lord, our constitutional position is to be situated in devotional service, irrespective of birth. And it is interesting that in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, a situation came up, one of the most famous stories of Jagai and Madhai, who were two drunkards, debauchees. And Lord Nityananda was on Sankirtan, and he was encouraging people to chant the holy name. And these debauchees, these drunkards, approached him, and Madhai he got so angry that he struck Lord Nityananda with an earthen pot. Can you imagine? Of course, this is the business of the demons. They will always attack the devotees. It's a battle of good over evil. So when this happened, Lord Chaitanya became very angry, understandably. And Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, and he takes no mercy on people who offend devotees of the Lord. This is also very important to note, that an offense against a devotee is a very serious thing in one's devotional creeper, hatimata. It will destroy you. One has to always remember that. Be very careful when you're dealing with devotees. You commit offenses like that, rumor mongering, fault finding, criticizing, speculating. It's very interesting. Yesterday, I was discussing with Vijaya Pandit in Italy, and he was saying, well, sometimes when you Prabhupada disciples speak, you talk about your association with Prabhupada. It seems to be false ego. I associated with Prabhupada, you didn't. If you can't explain the pastimes that you had with Srila Prabhupada, how else can other people understand Prabhupada and your realizations with him and the mercy he gave you? That's not false ego. Oh, I met Prabhupada. Oh, look at his false ego. This type of madness goes on in the mind of a neophyte, not even neophyte devotee. Fault finding, as Yashoda knows, and I've spoken this many times, I find it despicable. It's horrible. Rumor mongering, mental speculation. If a person is pointing the finger at somebody else, they should point it at themselves. And if they can't see it, we understand that. What can you do? This goes on in the world. It doesn't matter who you are. Especially people you can see in the material society, when people take a leadership position on any level, they're targeted. So this particular situation goes on in all spheres of life: controversy, difficulty, internal fighting, etc. But getting back to the pastimes of Jagai and Madhai, what happened was that although Lord Nityananda was struck by the pot and his appeared to be damaged, his body, Lord Chaitanya came to kill these people because of offenses. Oh yeah. That happened in a particular situation in Toronto where some people attacked us. Actually, it was an attack from within, amongst our own God brothers. They planted guns in the building. They oiled them and drilled out the serial numbers, Yashoda. And you'll know, Murli Krishna got arrested. The police came and found the guns in the tower under the plot given by one of our God brothers, who I got recommended for initiation, by the way. Can you imagine? Just like one of our God brothers came from West Virginia, sent a group of people, Keith Ham, and they stole the Prabhupada Murti and Prabhupada shoes out of the temple. Our own people trying to kill us. This goes on. Fault finding, these types of tendencies go on. And if they think we haven't experienced this, we have gone through this whole madness and seen how this can destroy a mission because of internal fighting. We are not here to fight. So what happened was that Lord Nityananda requested Lord Chaitanya, you have come to deliver the most fallen. And the means for that is the chanting of the holy name. And in this way, both of these people surrendered to Lord Chaitanya and to Lord Nityananda, and they took up the chanting of the holy names. So this is the process. The process is to work together and to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya together, and in this way take shelter of the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, as a cooperative group of Prabhupada disciples. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please, if you could.
This is a very important point that's being raised here, because we see in the history of the movement specifically after Prabhupada's manifested presence, that many individuals took it upon themselves to manufacture different interpretations of Srila Prabhupada's instruction. There's a very famous letter that Prabhupada wrote, and Prabhupada complained about his godbrothers, how after the departure of his Guru Maharaj, different godbrothers interpreted his words for sense gratification. And Prabhupada says, I'm always afraid of this great crack. In other words, Prabhupada was concerned because during his manifested presence, there were a few times where there was conflict between different devotees. And Prabhupada, because of his masterful, very patient, very gracious, and very considerate, and very expert way of dealing with devotees, would solve the issues. But he was concerned of what would happen after his departure, and we saw exactly what happened, where different persons, specifically certain leaders, interpreted Prabhupada's word in a way for their own personal sense gratification. Now, some people may object, well, no, they were preaching, they were doing management, they were doing this, they were doing that. What Prabhupada means by sense gratification is this tendency for profit, adoration, and distinction. That is a very dangerous disease. That is why there are divisions. That is why there are schisms. That is why there are so many problems in the movement. Because once you eliminate that problem, that profit, adoration, distinction, and everything else that goes on with it, then the bhakti can flourish. Otherwise, it's not bhakti yoga, it's bhukti yoga. It's mishra. Mishra in Sanskrit means mixed. It's devotional service, yes, but it's mixed up with fruitive activities, mental speculation, sense gratification. That's not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. It's not what Srila Prabhupada taught. So we have to be very careful. Prabhupada used to often quote from the Upanishads, use these two words, kshurasya dara, that the path of spiritual life is as sharp as a razor's edge. Recently, I was shaving my head and shaving my face, and a little inattention, and whoops, a little blood came out. What happens if you shave and you're not careful? Blood will come out. So the samely in spiritual life, one has to be very careful. Yes, the mercy of the spiritual master is there. The kindness of the spiritual master is there. The association of the spiritual master is there. But we have to be very careful to follow his path, his instruction. And if people manufacture all these nonsensical interpretations, then there is major problem. Major problem. Just want to read from a letter Prabhupada wrote to one Tulsi Devi on December 18th, 1975. December 18th, 1975. Prabhupada is talking about the Battle of Kurukshetra. Prabhupada says, if we want to be happy in this life and the next, we have to worship Vishnu. But Gandhi did to satisfy Vishnu? He was trying to satisfy his country, and his country killed him. He manufactured so many things which were never found in Bhagavad Gita. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to fight, and Gandhi manufactured non-violence from Bhagavad Gita. Everyone in India knows the Mahābhārata, the great battle of Kurukshetra. 640 million soldiers gave up their life in that battle. And Krishna was personally instructing Arjuna to fight. And Gandhi took Bhagavad Gita and preached nonviolence. So what was his understanding? And at the end of his life, he frankly said, I don't believe there was ever such a historical person as Krishna. So what did Gandhi know about Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada says, my only credit is that I have presented Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any speculation or interpretation. Therefore, for the first time in the history of the world, people are accepting it and living practically according to the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So this is a very important point. Srila Prabhupada is given the exact nectar of Bhagavad Gita because he did not change the meaning. He's given it exactly as it is. Hare Krishna.
Perfect. Puranjana Prabhu in California, maybe you could share some of your realizations and understandings of today's topics.
Is he there?
I hope so. Puranjana Prabhu. We can move forward and see if he comes later. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you for a very nice class. Somebody may be thinking, "Oh, I'm living in Kali Yuga," and the scriptures say that people in Kali Yuga are lower class and foolish people. So, but we have to actually realistically say that the scriptures are very true. We can find in politics, business, international relations, translations of Bhagavad Gita, spiritual association, that everything in Kali Yuga is probably about as bad as it could get. So I just wanted to read from Bhagavad Gita chapter 32, text chapter 9. O son of Pita, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, as well as Shudras, workers, can approach the supreme destination. Yeah, chapter 9, text 32, purport. It is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service, there is no distinction between the lower or higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions. But for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are not. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandalas, dog eaters, can be elevated by association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. And before we mention, you should have done it, probably mention how this idea of there being different classes is there in the Vedas. But in devotional service, we generally don't consider somebody to be a Shudra Vaishnav, Kshatriya Vaishnav, Brahmin Vaishnav. It's just consideration is still there in society, but amongst the devotees, we all realize we're Kali Yuga participants and just trying to be the best devotee we can. That's all. Thank you, Haribol.
Yes, that's true. We're all eternal servants of Krishna, irrespective of our birth. And the most important thing is to take up devotional service with your whole heart and commitment to Lord Krishna and the disciplic succession. Take it up as a purpose, your main purpose, not to go out and make money or become materially successful, which is the business of the mundaners. And we have Jonas Priya in Hawaii. Maybe he can share a few comments with us this morning.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Very, very nice class, as always. I really look forward for these classes. This is my lifeline. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you, sharing this wonderful nectar. Just Srila Prabhupada was asked, what could you do miracles? Because at the time there were so many yogis coming around and they were doing some little cheating, mystical stuff. So Prabhupada says, yes, my mystical power is that I have transformed these wild hippies and these melechas and javanas, dogs, asses, and camels into not only Vaishnavas, but Prabhupada his goal was to establish a Brahminical class of people. And if we could imagine the task coming into, it's like going into the wild jungle and trying to make the animals vegetarian. This is what Prabhupada is. Prabhupada came and tamed us. Why and how? He came because of the order of his spiritual master. And how did he do it? Simply by repeating Krishna's words and his guru's words. He did not make anything up. I was listening to a Prabhupada lecture yesterday, and somebody says, and Swamiji, in your opinion, Prabhupada says, I don't have any opinion. You get a little tag with this guy. I don't have any opinion. You will never hear me say, in my opinion, or I think so. Says, no, I'm simply repeating what Krishna says and what my Guru Maharaj said. So this is why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is so unique. Out of hundreds of Bhagavad Gitas, not one person that read any of the other Bhagavad Gitas became an aspiring devotee of Krishna. Only Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita did that. Why? Because that was his mission to find these devotees. He told us that when we go out preaching, he says we don't make devotees, we simply have to find them. They're out there. The Prabhupada says we go and find them. And this is our mission. We're trying to find all of these devotees. They're out there, and that's why we have these wonderful classes, and we'll try to propagate this as much as we can, and then Prabhupada will be smiling. And if we could make Srila Prabhupada smile upon us, that's the perfection of our life. Hare Krishna.
Yes, I wanted to further comment on that. Your comments was that I also heard a lecture where Prabhupada was saying they were glorifying him, saying, you've created all these miracles. And he said, I don't know miracle. I didn't do a miracle. But I did present the Bhagavad Gita, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, without any change, as it is. And that is the miracle. And so it is interesting to note, everyone, that I was looking at a post this morning on the Facebook social media, and one devotee commented that over 70%, take note here, 70% of the verses in the Gita have been changed by these editors. So how is it that Prabhupada presented something that he said was unchanged, and then these disciples of his, so-called disciples, have changed 70% of the verses because they felt they needed to correct his explanation? Very serious. We have Preeta Devi Dasi in Dallas, Texas as well, who is a friend of Dharma Bhavana's and a participant in our programs. And I was hoping maybe she could share some questions or insights on today's verses and discussion with us. Preeta in Dallas, Texas. Devi Dasi. Okay, I guess maybe her mic or she's not available. Yashodanandana Prabhu, could you further comment for us?
Very important discussion here. This point that was raised by our good friend from Hawaii, Janice Priya, that we are trying to give the connection with Srila Prabhupada to everyone. And one of the biggest obstacles that we face is a class of followers or devotees, or pseudo-devotees, according to some, who are hell-bent on changing the works and the writing legacy of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, this is all being done under the plea of editorial correctness or grammatical correctness, but people see through it. I've often given the example, for example, if you take the Vedanta Sutra commentary of Nimbarkacharya, called Parijata Kaustuba, and you change some Sanskrit words and go to their acharyas and say, we've written a different commentary here. Your commentary has been edited. Who will accept that? Try the same thing with the Madhvas or the Ramanujas or any of the original traditional Vaishnava Sampradayas. They will not accept. Of course, the argument might be, well, this was written in Sanskrit, that's different. Prabhupada wrote his books in English, he dictated them into English, and he requested that they be edited before they were published. But not this perpetual re-editing and changing, because we see that what they try to do is introduce nonsensical philosophical ideas with their corrections. We see this in the Bhagavad Gita. From he has seen the truth to they have seen the truth. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the introduction of the chapter 1 of the Adi Lila, they purposely changed the statement when Srila Prabhupada said that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They didn't like that, so they changed it. So this kind of nonsensical, whimsical behavior is a very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. And that is why many devotees are seeing that this mentality of changing, this perpetual changing and twisting and misinterpreting Prabhupada's instructions is causing great havoc. And this is not just regard with the initiation issue, it's with practically every issue. And we see the result is a class of devotees who are, so many devotees are confused. Of course, by using one's intelligence and a little bit of logic and reason, it's not very difficult to deal with this. One can easily see what to do. We see Prabhupada in the first canto of Bhagavatam, we've read this, in the 4th chapter, when the rishis of Naimisharanya had accepted Sonaka Rishi as the leader there of the group, all the sages, and Prabhupada writes in the purport, he's explaining in one purport how no one should be willing to hear one who does not represent the original Acharya, unquote. Now, in our movement, in this Krishna consciousness movement, Srila Prabhupada, I'm referring to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he is our original Acharya. And anyone who does not factually represent him, who misinterprets his teaching, who twists his teachings, or blatantly deviates from his teaching, should not be accepted. Because this creates a big problem for everybody. Anybody is entitled to accept Srila Prabhupada as their spiritual master. It doesn't matter where they are, what their situation is. Anybody can accept. This is not very complicated to understand. What we have is people who've set up a toll gate between Srila Prabhupada and the newcomers, and they want their fee, they want their toll, they want their payment. But this is nonsense, and people are seeing through it on so many levels. Just recently, thanks to Vishwakarma Prabhu, I'm just getting acquainted with some basic features of Facebook. I'm a little bit behind the times here. And I'm seeing that there's so many devotees doing very nice preaching, actually, dealing with these issues and presenting Srila Prabhupada's statements and making very relevant comments about not changing Srila Prabhupada's teachings, not deviating from Prabhupada's teachings, and to be very aware of what is going on with those that are trying to cheat people, to mislead people under the guise of gurus or spiritual leaders. Everyone should be aware of that. Hare Krishna.
Yes, very much so. And I wanted to just quickly comment to our group of Prabhupada disciples here, and we'll take a question from Nilesh and Shama in a minute. The reason this comes up, Prabhus, is because we are conducting these classes. They are 4.5 hours per week out of 168 hours of time that we can spend at the various duties that we have in our life. And one of them is, along with our work or whatever service we have to do to maintain family and body, is we are reading the books. This is part of our sadhana. And I hope that everyone is enjoying the transcendental literature. And we're fortunate that we're able to still get the original copies of Prabhupada's books. You can see behind me, I've got a set of Bhagavatams, unedited Bhagavatams. And we also have sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Bhagavad Gitas. So we spend our time studying these books on our own. Our life isn't about 4.5 hours here in this class where we get association and discussion. So we're bringing this up because these issues come up in the philosophy that Prabhupada is presenting to us in these purports and letters and other methods of distribution of information that we have of his messages. So it's in support of his messages that we're speaking. It's not to try to clarify them. We're just showing people what the truth of the matter is. And that is the purpose behind this. So when you do get the literatures, you can enjoy the books without having them contaminated or adulterated by other people who had no right to do this. And this is the hoax, the ISKCON hoax that is being perpetrated throughout the world. Nilesh Sharma in Miami, Florida, how are you? Please
Hare
share
Krishna,
your
Prabhuji. Jai
comment
Srila Prabhupada.
or your comment or question as the last section of our program.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yes, if anybody who wants to know what those book changes are and how often these book changes are, there is a website called bookchanges.com. There's a website called bookchanges.com. If you were to go on that website, they will give you systematically all the changes which have been done. Okay. And I just wanted to share with you is that one episode which happened to me in ISKCON Miami, where, typically in the month of December, they try to, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. So the people came to me, the concerned so-called devotees came to me and says, would you sponsor one case or whatever you want to for the distribution? I said, yes, I will, but provided it is the original book, 1972 version, only that I will sponsor. So they go away, and of course, after a few weeks or a few months, they come back to me. Yes, we can distribute the original. Why? Because if you see again, ISKCON proper, they have started reselling or printing Prabhupada's 1972 version. And do you know what they write down on the bottom of the front page or the front book cover of the book?
No.
They write down original. So if this is original, then what is the other books?
Simple logic.
So it is, it is, these people are so crazy that they can't even cheat properly. You see what I'm saying? So if you write original over there, and then what other books are you distributing then?
Fraudulent,
so
fraudulent books. Go ahead.
So that is for the smart person to understand. Krishna has to bless you with a certain intelligence to do that. And the other part which I wanted to ask Yashodananda Prabhu, that they put a toll gate. I don't mind paying a toll, but will that toll gate and the road with the toll gate take me to the final destination? That is the question. So, yes, Prabhupada also has a toll gate for us. What is the toll gate? Following the four regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds, reading his books, and associating with like-minded devotees. I would add like-minded devotees, because devotees will come in all kinds of forms, shapes, who will sell you these books. They will sell you this book which is written original on it. Then you need to think, what are the other books? You see? So I don't mind paying the toll, but will that toll road take me to the final destination? Yashodanandan Prabhu.
Well, that's a very good question. Prabhupada has warned many times of what happens if devotees deviate or disobey the instruction of the spiritual master. I mean, this is not like a secret or some kind of secret understanding that anybody has. It's very easy to understand. It's not complicated to understand. I often give the example that in October of 1977 in Vrindavan, we were there in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada had requested that the bell in the Krishna Balaram temple should ring exactly every hour, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And around later in the afternoon, exactly at 5 o'clock, the bell did not ring. And Prabhupada made a point why the bell did not ring. And Prabhupada, as part of these discussions, he made a point that my concern is that the aims and ideals of this institution may become dismantled. Now, if we look at the time that this was spoken like for just 1 month before Prabhupada departed. And Prabhupada was expressing very serious concern whether his followers would follow his instruction. Another time I was in Prabhupada's room where Srila Prabhupada were 2 of his GBCs, and he leaned over from his bed and he requested them, he says, please do not turn my institution like the Catholic Church or the Gaudiya Math. And what did they do? When you analyze what they did, they took the worst of these 2 institutions and introduced them into ISKCON. So the point being is that Prabhupada has given plenty of instruction of what to do and what not to do. It's up to us to follow, and for the leaders of that institution to make the necessary corrections, the necessary rectification to put things in a proper way. That will have to be done whether they like it or not. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada, and thank you everyone for attending today's reading and discussions on Srimad Bhagavatam, and we'll be back next Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. for the reading of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which has been very, very ecstatic for all of our group and extremely blissful. And we hope you feel that. And Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu, could you please put up our invitation just for a second here, just so we can show people. We have this invitation that we've created for printing. In other words, you can get it done in your local area as an invitation. Yes, here it is, to these classes. We want to increase our subscriptions. We're at 1,000 people now in our subscriptions. That's a very small number of people in terms of internet penetration or exposure. We want more, so there's a campaign, Jonas Priya is doing it, and we want people to take this opportunity by being a part, just for 4.5 hours a week, being a part of this sadhana program that we've introduced on the distribution of the truth without any adulteration. So please, if you want to get this form, just send a request to Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu, and he'll send you the artwork. You can get it printed inexpensively locally in your area and start to distribute it. And let's increase the number of subscriptions to our Hare Krishna Society YouTube channel. So please do that. And this will be very positive. So thank you again. And we're going to move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna, being led by His Divine Grace for us in his early days in the 60s. Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vyāsadeva Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vyāsadeva Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vyāsadeva Gaur Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna.
Deham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam